Oh man, they look beautiful. Greetings and salutations, my great friends. Welcome to this video on rewriting your narrative, on improving your self-worth. I think you probably just saw me over at the Camp Chef Pellet Grill. And every Sunday, we like to decide what we're going to cook as a family and then lovingly cook it. And when you cook great barbecue, which, by the way, to cook good barbecue, you got to cook bad barbecue. You've got to go over periodically and you've got to nurture and love the meat so that the outcome of your Sunday meal turns out good. And that just so happens to be our topic of conversation today. To quote the great author Matthew Walker, author of a great book called Why We Sleep. Today we're going to begin this little video talking about, he says testicles in his videos, I'm saying balls. And it turns out that people who only sleep 4 to 5 hours per night have significantly smaller balls than people who sleep 7 or 8 hours per night. Thank you so much for that gem, Mr. Walker. It's a very eye-popping line. Now, secondarily to these smaller balls, the hormones of people who only sleep 4 to 5 hours per night are not in a good place compared to the ones who sleep 7 to 8 hours per night. In fact, they are the profile of someone who is 10 years older. And not only in men is it seen, but it's also seen in women. So today's video deals with self-care and a sleep routine to rewrite your narrative. Now, one of the things I love to ask my clients is this. You might see some smoke coming in, by the way, because we're running the smoker today, mesquite and pecan for our baby back ribs. But I ask my clients all the time when I'm dealing with them, I know they have a narrative that needs to be rewritten. And I say, would you voluntarily torture yourself? And they say, no, of course not. I wouldn't voluntarily torture myself. What sort of a crazy question is that? And I say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I say, well, if you were captured prisoner of war, what would be the first form of torture that they would use on you? What would be the first form of torture that they use on you? And it turns out it's sleep deprivation. It would be sleep deprivation is the first form of torture that would be used on you. Now, why? Because the torturers know that if you don't get rest, you will betray yourself. If you don't get rest, you will betray yourself. We live in a country where people are voluntarily torturing themselves day in and day out from their sleep routine. I then ask my clients, how many hours of sleep do you need to be at your best? And they say, oh, 7 or 8. And I say, and how do you feel when you're at your best? I feel amazing. I feel like I can conquer the world. I feel like there's nothing I can't do. And then I say, and how many hours are you getting per night? And they say, by the time I've checked my phone a handful of times, by the time I've surfed Facebook and Instagram and all that other crap, I get about 4 or 5 hours. And I say, why in the world would you set yourself up for failure like that every day? So many years ago, my wife, Jennifer, who is a brilliant person, she knew I didn't have a sleep routine. And she said, I notice on the weekends, John, you like to sleep in. And I go, well, isn't that what people do? They sleep in on the weekends? And she goes, no, that's not what champions do. Here's what champions do. They go to bed at the same time every night and they wake up at the same time every morning. And when you follow a sleep routine, you never need to sleep in. And every day you feel like you can conquer the world. And I will just tell you, and it wasn't even painful. I told my wife, You know, after all of these years, you were right about that one, honey. You were crazy good right on that. So every night, the alarm is set to go off at 8:30, digital sunset at 7:30, and then the wake-up alarm, which is labeled greatest version of self, be extraordinary, not average, is set to go up at 5:30. But the reality is I never wake up by my alarm clock any morning. My body's like on this natural circadian rhythm, which is a beautiful thing. So every day, because I follow a sleep routine, I practice great self-care, which is a great reflection of how I love myself, which leads into, I believe there's nothing I can't do. And we won't go into the size of the balls or anything like that. Suffice to say, though, the hormones are in a very good place. People are always astonished when they find out I'm nearly 50 years old, and I chalk that up big time to having a great sleep routine. So if you want to rewrite the narrative in your mind, let it start with a sleep routine. Lastly, I always love to tell my clients, how does a great morning for you begin? And they tell me da 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 da. And I say, and isn't it interesting? Didn't that really begin the night before? A great morning always begins the night before, and there's nothing worth staying up for late anyhow. So I hope you set your own sleep routine. Love you much, and we'll see you next week.
Your self-worth is in direct correlation with how well you keep your word with yourself and others. Get on a sleep routine. Get your kids on a sleep routine. Stop torturing yourself, and please hit like, subscribe, and share.